Hello, welcome to the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Scarlett Tripsmith and can't see me yet. Sorry about that. Hello and welcome. My name is Scarlett Tripsmith and I will be your technical liaison for today. Welcome to the Humboldt Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. And we are so happy to have you all with us today. Today's service is about the books that have touched our lives, which I know is a very, very heartfelt topic to all of us, because we all have books that are in our minds and in our hearts and in our souls. So I hope you're all looking forward to it. Just a couple housekeeping things. We ask that you stay muted throughout the duration of the service. There will be an opportunity for open sharing, and I will let you unmute yourselves at that time, and I will call on people. Please, if you feel comfortable, share your video. We love to see your faces in our congregation. If you would like to access everyone's faces, please go up to the top of your screen to the box grid and where it says gallery view, and you can see everyone's faces. Kind of fun. And without further ado, I would like to introduce, one more thing. Joys, Chats, and Sorrows today is a ritual that we do every Sunday, and it's very dear and meaning to our community. So if you would like to share a joy or a sorrow or a celebration, they will be going to me today. So if you go to participants, at the top of your screen should be Scarlett Tripsmith. You click on it, it'll say chat, and you can chat to me your joys, sorrows, and celebrations, and I will share them at the appropriate time. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope you all are ready to get your nose in some books and be enlightened. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Debbie Cooper for our chalice lighting and aspiration.
Thank you, Scarlett. Good morning, everyone. So for our chalice lighting today, I just have a little phrase by Maya Angelou, and it's there we go. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but the moments that take your breath away. And now let's recite our aspiration. Got it up on the screen. May love be the spirit of this fellowship. May the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. Take it away, Scarlett.
All right, and now is the time for our joys, sorrows, and celebrations. And I have a little quote I would like to read for that. It's very short. Just think how lucky you are to only have this much karma. And it's from Outrageous Openness by Tasha Silver. And I did receive a chat, I believe. All right. From Debbie and Greg. From Debbie, happy birthday to Greg on the Friday the 28th. Happy birthday. That's always exciting. How young are you? And here we go. Here's another one. From Beck. Wednesday is Ezra's birthday on the 7th. Happy birthday, Ezra. That's so exciting. Oh wait, it's his 7th birthday, excuse me. That's even better. Lucky number 7. And if we have, here we go. Here's one from Kim Tripsmith. Joyful that the fires did not take out my house and neighborhood in Sonoma County. Deep sorrow for those who lost everything in last week's storm, and may they be supported and find healing. From Michelle Hastings. I turned 50 on Tuesday. Congratulations. The big 50. Half a century? Decade? One of those things. Do we have any more? Okay. If we don't have any more, I would like to place a pebble in our pool of wishes for all the joys, sorrows, and celebrations that we keep close to our hearts and minds every day. And now I would like to introduce Elizabeth Harrington with our first hymn, Come Sing a Song with Me.
Thank you, Scarlett. Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to be here. This hymn is Come Sing a Song with Me. It's number 346 in the Great Hymnal, and we're going to change the words. We're going to do 3 verses. At the end of the third verse, the third verse will be Come Share a Book with Me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come read a book with me. Come read a book with me. Come share a book with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And we'll share a song of love and a book in the winter time.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Good morning, everyone. So, as you may know, our usual summer book service for the love of books is whatever great read we're enjoying right now. But when I was asked to do this service, I wanted to go a little deeper. I wanted to do a service where we discuss books that have touched our lives. Now, while I was researching for this reading, I found a speech about books written by an 8-year-old girl that I thought you might enjoy. Books fuel our minds like cars and gas. The cars can't go without gas. Our brains can't go without books. Without books, we would be empty, like a bucket without water, a file cabinet without papers, a brain without knowledge. The world needs books. A study released by the National Endowment for the Arts warns that sustainability of American culture is at risk. Our society is turning more and more toward electronic media for information and entertainment, and as a result, we are reading less and less. Google might give us knowledge, but books give us wisdom. And yet, books are so much more than enabling us to become well-educated or informed. Aside from the simple joy of a good story, books prove to be our best guide, an inspiration and moral supporter. Books widen our outlook, nourish our spirit, and awaken our soul. Reading has been shown not only to increase intelligence, but also to slow down the brain aging process. Think of reading like an exercise for your brain. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. Some of the many benefits from reading include increased vocabulary, goodness knows I need that, enhanced imagination, creativity, and comprehension. Reading is also known to make a person more empathetic and therefore improve their ability to relate to others. Usually this summer service, I already said that. This is all well and good, but I already said that. Okay, I know for me, there are books that have stayed with me my whole life. There are books that have changed people's lives, and I'm not talking about the self-help category. I'm talking about books that are more than just a book. They are a part of us. Anna Quindlen said, "Books are the plane and the train and the road. They are the destination and the journey. They are home." So I'd like to start the sharing process by showing you all a book that's very special to me. This was, let me see if I can get my screen big so I can show you. This was my grandfather's book. It's a fictional tale all about gnomes. It was written by a Dutch writer way before it was transcribed into English. In English, it was transcribed in 1976. The author is Will Hugin. And my grandfather used to always read this book to me, and I wanted to show you some of the great things about it. So gnomes apparently like to travel by geese and by fox coach. And also, let me see what else I got. It shows, if I can do this right, it shows their house. It shows where they go to the bathroom and where they do their storage and how they built it. And let's see what else we got here. We've got what gnomes have for breakfast and which mushrooms are the good mushrooms. And also they show us that apparently gnomes have known about acupuncture for a very long time. Here is a gnome giving acupuncture to, I believe, a badger? I think that's a badger. Also, gnomes don't ever have to fear about being stepped on. Apparently there's some secret code between horses and gnomes. And not only does it talk about gnomes, but it also talks about goblins. Apparently this is a goblin, a very ugly one to boot, but not as ugly as a troll. Very, very ugly trolls indeed. So I just wanted to share this with you. The book also has music, but I don't think we could have done it here because it's a music about a troll stealing a child, so let's not do that. But anyway, I remember every Sunday when we would have dinner at my grandfather's house, and after dinner, and we would be sitting by the fire and he'd be in his big red leather chair, I would come and sit on the arm and say, "Boppy, tell me about the gnomes again. I want to hear about the gnomes." So this book has been in every single place I've lived since he passed away. And I don't know who I'll pass it on to, but it's my treasure. So that's it. And I'm going to pass the sharing now on over to Debbie Harrison. Take it away, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. I love that. So I'm going to talk about a book today called When All You've Ever Wanted Isn't Enough, The Search for Life That Matters. Sometimes a book comes into your life just when you need it, and it stays with you because it helps you through a difficult period. And that's what this book did for me. I was mired in a profound depression when I stumbled on it, and it's by Rabbi Harold Kushner, who's best known for writing the book When Bad Things Happen to Good People. But this book was essentially a study of the book of Ecclesiastes from the Bible. And, this is a book that somehow came into an agnostic doubter's life and really hit a chord for me. It describes a person who goes in search of happiness, and he succeeds in all the things he tries: academia, money, the arts, worldly pleasures, and even religion, but none of it brings him happiness. In the end, he feels empty and nothing, and he says, "All is vanity." The most famous quote from Ecclesiastes is, "To everything there is a season," and we all know the rest of that quote. But the quote that spoke so profoundly to me at that time in my life was, "Go, eat your bread in gladness, and drink your wine in joy." That quote goes on to say, whatever you do is already approved by God. And I interpreted that to mean that I'm okay just as I am. Rabbi Kushner helped me to see that what really matters is to notice the small day-to-day things and derive pleasure and happiness from them. Because in the end, that's really all we have in this life. I started to learn to notice the beauty of the natural world, the smell of a flower, the sound of the ocean, the taste of good food, and the greatness in small acts of generosity. To truly appreciate what we have in our everyday experience. When I started to focus on those small things, I started to understand how to step back from how lost and depressed I was, and to find and just to start to appreciate and find gratitude in the gift of being alive. I don't own a copy of When All You've Ever Wanted Isn't Enough. I loaned it to somebody a long time ago and never got it back. But the message that Rabbi Kushner gave me through that book has stayed with me all these years. Back to you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie. And now we're going to hear from Sylvia Shaw.
Thank you, Debbie. Am I loud enough? I hope so. I'm on my iPhone. I have to admit, I haven't actually finished reading the book that I'm talking about, but it's been on my reading list for a very long time. It's called Braiding Sweetgrass, written in 2013 by Robin Wall Kimmerer, who is an Indigenous woman and a professional botanist. And her love for plants started when she was a very small child, because she lived in a community and in a culture that honored plants. And that's what the book is about, is honoring plants and the land and the natural beings. It soothed me when I opened the first chapter and went, oh, somebody else sees how wonderful plants and earth and nature are. And it nourishes me to have it show up in my life during this time of grief and chaos. And in mid-book, I'm starting to move my nourishment to maybe some exciting thoughts about how to move forward in this world of chaos. One of her major premises is the honorable harvest. And she creates some rules. She says there are no guidelines, but she's writing some down. And I'm going to just give you a sampling here of her guidelines for the honorable harvest. Know the ways of the ones who take care of you, so that you may take care of them. Introduce yourself. Be accountable as the one who comes asking for life. Ask permission. Abide by the answer. Never take the first. Never take the last. Share and give thanks. That's a few of her guidelines of the honorable harvest. And she starts to lay out some thoughts about applying this honorable harvest concept to our current world. Well, it was current in 2013 when she wrote the book, but I think it's even more so now. She starts by saying that nature and the plants, the animals, the soil are actually intelligent spirits, and they have families waiting for them at home. Killing a who demands something different than killing an it, is her concept. When you regard those non-human persons as kinfolk, another set of harvesting regulations extends into your bag limits and your legal seasons. So she's proposing that we might have a fishing license and a hunting license that has some of these rules that I just read, that are subject to the laws that are dictates of what she calls the real government, the democracy of species, the laws of Mother Nature. And she realizes, and I realize, that this is a far cry from what we'll be able to get through Congress, but that we can start to apply some of this honorableness to the way we move forward from our current transformation climate. She talks about using technology and all other kinds of current lifestyle. And she says, do use technologies that minimize harm. Do take what is given. This philosophy guides not only our taking of food, but also our taking of gifts of Mother Earth, the air, the water, the literal body of the earth, the rocks, the soil, and the fossil fuels. And she talks that she hasn't arrived. Now, maybe in the next 200 pages, I'll find where she has gone, but she has not arrived at how to sort this all out. But she's proposing that it be a guideline in the way we go forward. And those are nourishing thoughts to me. I can't wait to find out what more she has to say in the book. I know many of you on this participant list have probably read this book, but if you haven't, I highly recommend it as something for this current season.
Thank you, Sylvia, for sharing that. Now it's time for Lucera to give us a share on her book.
Good morning, everyone. Just a little correction on the order of service. My last name is spelled Love, and my friends call me Luce. It means light. When Debbie asked me to pick a book to share today, it was difficult to choose one book that has had an effect on my life, because I can't remember a time when books were not part of my life. They have been a source of refuge, comfort, retreat, escape, learning, and they have challenged me to grow and change in ways that I never would without them, never would have. They've been good friends, and they've introduced me to new friends, both in the world of imagination and in the world outside of books. They have been a point of connection and deep conversation. They've brought me more deeply into loving relationship with the world. Entering a library or a bookstore, and that's something I deeply miss right now, is the library, has been like visiting a sacred temple to me, a place where I can surrender to wonder and return to my center and my joy, even on the most difficult of days. I taught my children to treat books with reverence and care, and to read with a mind that questions and revels in the worlds that books paint. Since they were babies, it has always been one of our favorite daily rituals to snuggle in together at the end of the day with a good book. And this bookish ritual has been a strong cord of connection for us that carries us gently into the dream time. I always hoped that I could read them to sleep, but it's often been the other way around. And they know I'm falling asleep when the words start to slow down, garble, and then sometimes become hilarious statements that are not from the book at all, but more akin to the worlds of dream. And now sometimes they take off where I left off and read to me as I drift into sleep. So in thinking about how important books have been to me with my children, that of course brought me back to thinking about my childhood with books. And I remembered this, where the sidewalk ends. And I love to write poetry. And I think this was really my first introduction to poetry as a child that I could really relate to. That's Where the Sidewalk Ends by Shel Silverstein. And so I thought I would just read that poem, Where the Sidewalk Ends. There is a place where the sidewalk ends, and before the street begins. And there the grass grows soft and white, and there the sun burns crimson bright. And there the moonbird rests from his flight to cool in the peppermint wind. Let us leave this place where the smoke blows black, and the dark street wind winds and bends. Past the pits where the asphalt flowers grow, we shall walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and watch where the chalk white arrows go to the place where the sidewalk ends. Yes, we'll walk with a walk that is measured and slow, and we'll go where the chalk white arrows go. For the children, they mark, and the children, they know the place where the sidewalk ends. Thank you.
Thank you. I also grew up with Shel Silverstein. He's wonderful. So I just wanted to say real quick before we head over to Judy that if you guys have any books that you also would like to share, start sending messages to Scarlett, and then we're going to open it up to open sharing. So, but for right now, Judy Rishel, why don't you share your book?
Hi. Before I talk about the book I want to share, I want to tell you about a short story I read as a teenager. In this story, people were alone in their cubicles. They communicated via a TV-like screen in which they attended meetings and parties and family gatherings, business conferences, clubs, etc. Does this sound familiar? In the early 60s, this was considered science fiction. The goal of the people were to escape from the cubicles to freedom. Anyway, when Eat, Pray, Love was popular, I read that book by Elizabeth Gilbert. At the end of this book, she had fallen in love with a Brazilian-born man of Australian citizenship named Philippe. The couple swore eternal fidelity to each other and to never, ever get married, as they had both been through previous bad divorces. Philippe was a gem salesman and came in and out of the United States for his work. But Homeland Security put an end to this travel and said if he wanted to live in the United States, he'd have to marry. Thus, being sentenced to marriage, Elizabeth decided to investigate this thing called marriage in her next book called Committed, A Skeptic Makes Peace with Marriage. She decided to tackle her fears about marriage via historical research, personal reflections, and interviews. I have to admit, one of these interviews hit me like a ton of bricks. Sometimes you read a novel and find out things that have impacted your own life. This is what happened to me. Elizabeth's maternal grandmother was born in 1913. My mother was born in 1911. Her grandmother was born with a cleft palate and lip. I was born with a cleft palate and lip. Back in those days, it was assumed her grandmother would not have a shot at getting married, so she was allowed to finish her business courses to get a job to earn her own living. Typically, youngsters in Minnesota quit school to work on the farm. How does this relate to me, you may ask? My mother once told me I was born with a strike against me. She always encouraged me to do my best in school. My mom and dad never finished school, nor did my older sister. My two younger brothers did finish high school, but I was the only one in my family to go to college. So why did my mom push me to do my best in school? I feel my mother grew up with this turn of the century attitude. I was not aware of this while I was growing up. The passage in the book Committed implied the attitude that a woman with a cleft lip would have a hard time finding a mate to take care of her. Now, when I was a kid, it would have been very hard to convince me that being born with a cleft was to my advantage. But I guess it was. I just didn't know it at the time. This attitude played into my going to college and becoming a teacher of special education, which worked out well for me. I'm glad to report I did get married, and I've been happily married for 51 years now. Back to Debbie.
Thank you so much, Judy. Okay, so if anyone has any books that they would like to share, go ahead and send a notice to Scarlett, and I'm gonna pass the buck over to Scarlett.
All right, thanks. Yeah, so first up, we have Kim Tripsmith sharing, and after that, we'll have Sina. And yeah, just keep sending me chats, and I will put you on the runner-up list. So Kim Tripsmith, take it away.
Dun, dun, dun. Hello there. So my daughter, Miss Scarlett, she knows I'm like a book fiend. You know, they've always been like, "No, Mom, get away from the bookstore." You know? And I haunt secondhand stores for hardback books because I have this view that, you know, we're edging towards a very strange universe here on planet Earth, kind of headed toward that extinction universe thanks to our corporate greed. And so I have this thing of like, I gotta have this library, you know, for the family, you know, for when we don't like have any power anymore, and that's, you know, they're gonna be stuck with reading books. So I have two books I'm gonna share today. Dun, dun, dun. Here they are. You probably are familiar with them. I've chosen to share two books by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, who is a Jungian psychologist, also known as a cantadora. She is a mestiza Latina storyteller, which means she's Native American and Mexican, Spanish. She's presently in her 70s, and she grew up in the vanished oral tradition of her immigrant refugee family, who, you know, for who English was a third language, overlaying their ancient, you know, heritage. And her stories are full of passionate, poetic, potent words and images that inspire and instruct and empower women to our own true nature. And so one of them is the women who run with wolves, myths and stories of the wild women archetype. And the next one is Untie the Strong Woman, Blessed Mother's Immaculate Love for the Wild Soul. And these two books are filled with stories of the Great Mother, Our Lady, La Nuestra Senora, Holy Mother, or, you know, thousands of names that she comes by. And Estes talks of the Great Mother, that she wears, quote, hundreds of costumes, dozens of skin tones. She is the patroness of deserts, mountains, stars, and oceans. She comes to us in billions of images, but at her center, she is the great Immaculate Heart. And Dr. Estes invites us to reconnect with the quote, fierce and loving Blessed Mother who is friendly but never tame. She who flies to our aid when the road is long and our hearts are broken, ever ready to rekindle the inner fire of our creative souls. And I've always kind of felt that the Blessed Mother to me, the Great Mother to me, she's the friend of the friendless one. You know, she is, when you have no one in your corner, you have the Blessed Mother in your corner with you. But sadly, because of patriarchy for the last 4,000 plus years, we have become estranged from the Great Mother and the nurturing and the wisdom that she holds for us. And we have converted nature, we've converted the wild within, to nature, you know, some kind of outside thing, rather than the within, the wild within. And you can feel the wild within whenever you go to the ocean, whenever you go out into the wild, you reflect that wild, and suddenly, you know, you're getting this dopamine rush where we're filled with serotonins and all these yummy drugs, internal drugs that bring us to joy. And that's there for us all the time, but we kind of forget as we kind of move through our lives every day in the mundanity of things. And so these books open up a channel to stories that explore the divine feminine, which is that deep nurturing force inside of us. And the stories empower us to break through the walls that we build for ourselves, that hold us back from being in our full, whole selves all the time, rather than just kind of rising and falling to it. Storytelling's an ancient art, and it fuses healing, it fuses fun, and teaching, all into a way of awakening, like the memories of the wildness within us. And so the stories that we choose to live out on the planet, you know, can be a little bit more rich and more vibrant if we engage our imaginations and reinvent ourselves to be stronger, to be more resilient, and to really tap into this incredible wealth and richness of story that is within our families and also within these fabulous books of this wonderful cantadora. And she's got CDs as well. You know, if you don't, you know, for people, I know that for sometimes people have a hard time reading. She's got a bunch of CDs out that also tell stories. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. And up next, we have Sina, and she will be sharing a book called And the Ladies of the Club by Helen Huber St. Meyer. And I'll just get her up on here. Take it away, Sina. Can't quite hear you yet. There you go.
There, hi. This is the book that I've chosen to talk about. And I didn't do a large presentation. Hold on, I have something right in the middle. Get out of here. There. Okay. I've read this 3 times, which is interesting because it's got over 1,400 pages in it. It was published in 1982, but it covers a period in a small Ohio town from 1868 to 1932. And it follows primarily from the views of, well, originally 6 women who form a club after they graduate from a women's college called Waynesboro College. And it follows them through their lives and the town people and the politics and the customs, community life. What else? this was a time when women couldn't even vote, and there were no theaters and there were no other entertainments in the town. And the women every year would put together a play using various people from the town and making all the costumes and holding it in a big house. And they also had started a library, and the librarian was paid by the women who were in the clubs who had more money. And when she wound up retiring, they even put together a pension for her. So these women in the club were very strong and influential women of the town. But it's really an interesting look at the times and the costumes and the customs and costumes of the period, and how the men got into work. One of the women in the club winds up marrying someone who becomes a doctor. Another one winds up marrying a guy who eventually goes into business producing rope for ships. But he becomes one of the richest men in town. And his wife is the one who puts on, whose house the plays are put in. But I found it so interesting, and it took me away from whatever I was in life and brought me to the olden times, sort of like Laura Ingalls Wilder's Take You on a Trip. I've loved to read since I was 9. Prior to that, I needed glasses, and they didn't find out until I was 9. I had astigmatism. But after that, I pretty much lived at the library. I'd ride my bike about 5 miles to the small town library and stay there every Saturday until it was time to come home. So I've always loved books, and I've gotten away from it a lot now because I do more things and I can't read a book while I'm doing them. But this is one that I've held on to, and I've read it 3 times and I want to read it again. And that's my show. Back to you.
Thank
Sarah?
you so much, Sina. Thank you. And now I would like to pass it off to Mandy Bray. And here we go.
There's an unmute.
There you go.
Yay. Well, I'm glad I came in late, and I'm sorry about that, but I wanted to be here anyway. And Jeff locked his keys in the van, and he'll just have to wait. I really felt strongly about wanting to share this for a couple of weeks, but I haven't done anything about it other than say so. And my mother is staying with me down here in Humboldt during the pandemic, and we're sheltering in place. And she's in my art room as her bedroom. And we get out and do a little bit of stuff, not a lot, but we sat and we watched John Lewis's memorial, the full week of all of the coverage. And with her Alzheimer's, everything is new every time. And with her Alzheimer's, it's harder for me to find time to read a book. And in the course of everything I heard in the documentaries and watching it, I heard it from John Lewis's own words in a documentary on PBS about how as the Black Lives Matter movement erupted after Ferguson and Michael Brown, John Lewis decided to write a trilogy graphic novel called March to get the youngsters that are involved in the civil rights movement today involved in what they can do. And it's perfect for Mom and me and I like that it's in black and white graphic too. It allows your imagination, and at the same time it's you don't have to get as grossed out by the bloody scenes. And I've read all of book 1 so far, and that's all. And Mom's read a few pages of it, and she was raised by my granddaddy. Didn't fight chickens, but showed bantam coaching chickens. He was a chicken judge to see the prettiest chickens. And these guys had chickens, and he talked about how he wanted to be a preacher at first and that he would preach to the chickens. And it turns out that it was his job to take care of the chickens. And I would get them all into the hen house and settle them on their roosts. And then there's a lovely picture of them settling in for the night. And then they would sit quietly. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. They would bow their heads. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. They would shake their heads, but they never quite said amen. And I just love that. There's a great picture of the chickens looking at him. And he didn't like to eat chicken dinners. And the page I got to in book 2 so far, this last Sunday, or yesterday, not last Sunday, I was talking to Chip Sharp, and he mentioned CORE, and he just mentioned it matter of factly, and it's the Congress of Racial Equality. And John Lewis was a member. You'll have to talk to Chip about when things happened. And I guess Jesse Jackson was a member at the time that Chip was. And I haven't read Chip's autobiography yet, but I'm looking forward to it. And I just really highly recommend this for any teens that don't really. There's so many kids these days that just want to work on their devices. And I was raised on books, and I too know Shel Silverstein, and I know The Giving Tree, and I'm thrilled to have March. When I ordered it online, it was out of print, but I figured I would want it when it showed up, and it showed up much sooner than I expected, and I'm glad to have that. And of all of my collection of books, to find that a graphic novel would appeal to me and be something that I could take little small doses of when I can't sit down and focus on a full book anymore, or at least not at this point in my life. So thank you for letting me throw that out there. When he was given, I got to point out, if you see it on YouTube, as John Lewis was plugging this book, he was on the Late Show with Stephen Colbert, and he actually did some stage diving and crowd surfing, they called it. And Stephen was asking you, are you scared about at this age at going ahead and crowd surfing? And he says, well, I've been beat in the head and I've been in protest marches, and I think this will be all right if the crowd holds me up. And he goes, and they did. So that was fun. You might look that up on YouTube. John Lewis crowd surfing. Thanks.
Thank you, Mandy. That was great. All right, so we're going to wrap up our open book sharing and now transfer into our offertory sequence of today. And I just want to remind you that our offertory is giving what resources we have. And I want to remind you all that we have this awesome thing, which is our book donation, and it's just you come, you bring a book, or, you see a book that you like, you take it with you, you read it, you bring it back. And it's been really helpful for me, as well as a bunch of our communities at the fellowship. There's also games for kids and puzzles, and I definitely got stumped on a couple puzzles, and definitely a wonderful resource to utilize during this time. So I wanted to mention it. And as well as we have a quote here before our offertory, which is, libraries will get through times of no money better than no money will get through times of no libraries. So I think that speaks volumes. Speaks volumes of knowledge. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Annette playing our offertory. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much, Annette. That was lovely. By the way, Joanne McGarry says hi. She stopped by, and that's who I was chatting with. So we're gonna pass it over to Elizabeth for our last hymn, and then we'll close up.
Okay. Hi again, everyone. This hymn is from the Teal Book. It's number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our stories from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our hearts stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, and a book can be a holy place.
Thank you, Elizabeth. That is great. I love that last bit. A book can be a holy place. So I will go get our chalice. I don't know who started this little thing, but it's a great little seashell chalice. I'll hear some sounds. It's not muted. Okay, so for closing words, I've got this from Anonymous. Life is like a book. Some chapters are sad, some are happy, and some are exciting. But if you never turn the page, you'll never know what the next chapter has in store for you. And now we go from here in peace. Go with love.
here in peace, go in love. Go from here in peace, go in love. Go from here in peace, go in love. In love, go in peace. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Thanks, everyone. Thank you so much to Scarlett and Lucera and Sylvia and Debbie and Judy and everyone that shared a video. Everyone that shared a book. And if you want a list of all the books mentioned, I'll try and get that out there. But otherwise, have a great day and let's do our coffee hour. And as Scarlett has on the screen, stay home, stay safe, and stay connected.